I used to rent out the spare room in my apartment on Airbnb. It was an easy way to make extra money, especially living close to downtown. Most guests stayed a few nights, kept to themselves, and left without issue. Then came Mark. He booked for 3 nights. His profile had one blurry photo and no reviews, but his message was polite. In town for work, need a quiet spot. He arrived right on time, mid-30s, tall, soft-spoken. Nothing felt off. The first night, I barely saw him. He dropped his bag in the guest room and left again. The second night, I heard him pacing quietly after midnight, just soft footsteps, back and forth. By the third morning, I noticed he hadn't used the shower. The towels were still perfectly folded. I hadn't heard the sink run. The guest room door remained closed. When I got home that evening, the hallway light was on. I never leave it on. His door was closed, but I could hear faint breathing inside. Just breathing. I knocked lightly. No answer. Another knock. Still nothing. I said through the door, just checking if everything's okay. A pause. Then, yeah, all good. His voice sounded different. Slower. Lower. That night, I double-locked my bedroom door for the first time since moving in. The next morning was checkout. I waited until 11 a.m., then knocked. No answer. When I opened the door, the room was empty. Bed untouched, curtains drawn, the closet slightly open. No bag. No signs of anyone having stayed. I stood there, confused. Maybe he left early, but the keys weren't on the counter. I texted him. No reply. That night, I reset the room. Clean sheets, fresh towels, and listed it again. At 3:12 a.m., I woke up to a noise. A single click. I sat up in bed, heart racing. The door to the guest room creaked. I had closed it earlier. I stepped into the hallway. The room was dark, but the closet was now wide open. I didn't sleep again that night. The next day, I contacted Airbnb. They said the guest's account had been deactivated. No explanation. No contact info. I checked the apartment again. Nothing missing, but the air felt wrong. The smell in the room was off, damp wood and faint sweat. I cleaned the place twice. That night, I didn't hear anything. Until 4:06 a.m., the hallway light turned on. I saw the glow under my door. Then soft steps. They stopped right outside my room. No knock, no voice, just silence. Then the light went off and the footsteps faded away. I changed the locks the next day, installed a hallway camera. I stopped renting the room, stayed inside, but the hallway light kept turning on, always between 2 and 4 a.m. The footage showed nothing, just darkness, then light, then darkness again. One night I left my door open. I needed to prove it was all in my head. At 3:33 a.m., I woke up to breathing. Not mine. From the hallway. I didn't move. I didn't blink. I slowly grabbed my phone and checked the live feed. No one there, but the breathing continued. Long, slow. Then, floorboards creaked. Then silence. The next morning, I reviewed the footage. The light turned on at 3:32. But 16 seconds before that, the feed went black. When it returned, the closet door was open again. I nailed it shut, screwed it down, thought I'd solved it. But the next night, the closet was open again. The footage showed a man standing there, not looking at the camera, looking into the hallway, toward my room. That night, I didn't sleep. I waited, phone in hand, every light on. At 3:41, I heard it again. Steps, hallway creaking. This time I didn't freeze. I got up, opened my door. He was standing there, not surprised, not angry, just waiting. We stared at each other for what felt like a lifetime. Then he moved, slowly, back into the guest room, into the dark. I followed. The room was cold, the closet wide open, empty, but the smell, it was stronger now, damp, moldy, and sharp, like something had rotted in the walls. I turned on the light, searching. Floorboards, corners, behind the door, and then I saw it. On the inside of the closet, carved into the wood, were markings, tally marks. Dozens of them, hundreds, some deep, some fresh. Beneath them, scratched in jagged lines, 2 words. Still here. Suddenly, the bedroom door slammed behind me. I spun around. No one was there, but I heard footsteps running. Away, not toward me, toward the front of the apartment. I chased them. The hallway camera caught a blur. A man, barefoot, thin, clothes torn, sprinting out the front door before disappearing into the dark street. I filed a police report, gave them the footage. They never found him. He had been living in the walls, in the crawl space, inside my home. Since then, I've sealed the guest room, changed apartments, thrown away everything from that place. But sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, not from a dream, from something else. A click, a creak, and breathing, like someone still thinks they're welcome here. I never used to think twice about what I posted online. Pictures of my coffee, my dog, sunsets from my balcony, the usual, nothing personal. At least, that's what I told myself. It started with a like. A username I didn't recognize liked 5 of my posts in a row, random ones, months apart. Then a follow. His profile had no picture, no bio, and 2 posts. A blurry city skyline and a close-up of a cracked phone screen. Something about it felt off. Still, I didn't block him. I barely noticed. Then the messages started. At first, they were harmless. Beautiful view. I like your dog. Nice morning light. I ignored them. I thought if I didn't respond, he'd get bored. He didn't. Over the next week, he kept messaging. Always polite, never threatening, but constant. Every day. Sometimes in the morning, sometimes past midnight. I finally muted him. That's when he commented on a story. It was just a clip of me making tea with a caption. "Rainy mornings like this," he replied. "Looks cozy. I like your blue mug." I froze. I hadn't shown the mug. The camera had been facing the window. The mug was off frame in my hand. There was no way he should have seen it. I checked the video again. It wasn't visible. That's when the sick feeling started. That quiet panic that builds in your stomach and doesn't go away. I didn't post anything for the next 3 days. Then he sent the first photo. It was my building, taken from the street. Not artistic, not aesthetic, just documentation. The kind real estate agents or cops would take. Concrete, windows, blinds. It came with a caption. "Nice spot. Quiet, I bet." I blocked him instantly, reported the account, set everything to private. My hands were shaking as I locked my door and double-checked the windows. I even moved a chair under the doorknob, something I hadn't done since I was a kid, home alone during storms. That night, I barely slept. Every little creak made me sit up. I started keeping the TV on for background noise, just so I didn't have to listen to the silence. The next morning, there was a new message request, different username, 0 followers, no posts, just one message. "Why'd you block me?" I didn't reply. 2 days passed. Then another message, this time from yet another new account. "I just want to be close to you." I felt sick. I went through all my old posts, double-checking what might have given away my location. There were clues everywhere. A bakery name on a bag, the reflection of a street sign in my sunglasses, a delivery box with a partial zip code. I'd never realized how much I was handing out. I stopped posting completely, deleted everything, turned off location services, changed passwords. I even taped over the webcam, but I still felt like he was watching. It didn't stop him. One evening, as I got home, I noticed something on my doormat, a folded piece of paper. I opened it slowly. It was a printout, a screenshot of my Instagram profile, and written across it in marker, "Why are you hiding from me?" I called the police. They came, took a statement, looked around the building. They were polite but detached. "Could be a prank," they said. "Could be someone you know." I didn't know anyone like that. And if I did, I didn't want to. After they left, I installed cameras. One on the peephole, one facing the street. I barely left my apartment. I worked remotely, so I didn't have to. My life shrank to 4 rooms and a screen. I started ordering groceries just once a week, and only during daylight hours. I kept the blinds closed at all times. I stopped answering the door completely. One night, the camera outside pinged a notification. Movement detected. 2:41 a.m. I opened the app up. A man in a hood stood across the street. Still. Just standing there. Not smoking. Not on his phone. Just watching. He stayed for 6 minutes, then walked away. No message followed. No photo. No sign that he knew I'd seen him. The next night, it happened again. Same hour. Same place. Same silence. I couldn't see his face. The resolution wasn't clear enough, but something about his posture felt familiar, like I'd seen him in passing once, or maybe wanted to believe I hadn't. I started sleeping with the lights on. One morning, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. No caller ID. I let it ring. Then the voicemail came. No words, just soft breathing. And in the background, the faint sound of my own voice from a video I'd posted months ago, one I had deleted, one I thought no one had saved. I threw up. I went to the police again. They were sympathetic, more concerned this time. They asked if I'd ever shared my number online. I hadn't, not directly, but it didn't matter anymore. That night, I checked the hallway camera. The man was inside the building. He didn't knock, didn't try the door. He just stood there, still, breathing, looking at the camera. Then he turned and smiled. Not a grin, just the smallest shift at the corner of his mouth, like he knew exactly how terrified I was. Then he walked away. I haven't seen him since, but I don't feel safe, not even now, because every time I post, even the smallest thing, I wonder, is he watching? How long has he been watching? And how close is he willing to get? I drive the same road home every night after my shift ends. It's a lonely stretch of 2-lane highway that cuts through woods and farmland for about 30 minutes before I hit the edge of town. Most nights, I don't see more than a couple of cars the entire way. That night, I noticed the SUV just after I pulled out of the gas station. It was black, newer model, maybe a Tahoe or a Suburban. It turned out behind me and kept a steady distance. Headlights bright in my rearview mirror. I didn't think much of it at first. It was late, and we were both probably just heading home. 10 minutes later, I realized it hadn't changed lanes once. It followed me through 2 turns and a long stretch of road that's usually empty after dark. Still, I told myself I was being paranoid. To test it, I turned onto a side road I almost never use. It leads through a wooded area and loops back to the main highway. It's slower, bumpier, and there's no reason to take it unless you live out that way. The SUV turned behind me. That was the first time I felt my heart skip. I tried to shake it off. Maybe they were heading the same way. Coincidence, I thought. Nothing more. But the road was narrow, and I slowed down to let them pass. They didn't. Instead, they matched my speed. When I went faster, they did too. When I braked slightly, so did they. Always keeping the same distance, never getting closer, never falling back. That's when the tension started crawling up the back of my neck. I turned off the music and lowered the window just enough to hear the wind. It was quiet. No other cars, no wildlife, just the hum of my tires and the soft roar of their engine behind me. At the next intersection, I made a sharp right, faster than I normally would. The tires squealed slightly. I watched my mirror. The SUV followed. No signal. No hesitation. I gripped the wheel tighter. There's a small diner off the next road, open 24/7. I thought about pulling in. Somewhere with people, lights, cameras. But I made a mistake. I hesitated. I slowed down just enough to consider it, then passed the turn. In the mirror, I saw the SUV hesitate too, just for a second. But then it stayed on me. They were watching me, not following by accident. At that point, my body was in full alert mode. chest tight, jaw clenched. Every bump in the road felt magnified. I tapped my phone to call someone, anyone, but I had no signal out there. Of course I didn't. There's a part of that route with no streetlights and thick woods on both sides. As I entered it, the SUV behind me turned off its headlights. Just like that. Gone. The road was pitch black. My taillights lit up the trees behind me for a moment, but the SUV vanished into the darkness. I hit the gas. My car isn't fast, but I pushed it harder than I ever had. Every corner felt like it might throw me off the road, but I didn't care. I just needed distance. I needed to see lights, houses, anything. Then I saw them. Headlights. They blinked on again, far too close behind me. He'd been tailing me in the dark. No lights, no sound, just gliding behind me like a shadow. That's when I truly panicked. I ran a stop sign. I turned down a gravel road I'd never used before. The stones kicked up hard under my tires, and the whole car shook. But I didn't care. I looked in the mirror. Still behind me. Same distance. Same cold precision. He wasn't trying to get ahead. He wasn't honking. He wasn't signaling. Just following. I felt like prey. Every instinct screamed at me to get somewhere public. I tried to remember if I passed a police station earlier. I hadn't. Not out here. Just farms, trees, and open dark. I pulled a sharp U-turn, nearly sliding into the ditch. Gravel flew, dust rose. My car groaned under the strain. I shot back the way I came. This time, finally, the SUV didn't follow. Or maybe he did. With the lights off again. I wasn't sure. I kept checking the rearview mirror so much I barely watched the road ahead. My hands were shaking. My mouth was dry. I felt like I was being hunted. I kept driving until I saw the glowing green lights of a 24-hour pharmacy just off the main road. I pulled in fast, parked crooked across 2 spots, and ran inside. There was a woman at the counter and a sleepy-looking pharmacist restocking shelves. They both looked up when I came in. I must have looked wild. I didn't say anything, just stood there for a moment, catching my breath. After a few minutes, I looked outside. The SUV was parked across the street, engine off, headlights off. I couldn't see who was inside, just a dark shape in the driver's seat, barely visible behind the tinted glass. I stayed in the store for nearly an hour, pretending to shop, using the bathroom, pacing the aisles. I didn't want to leave. I knew if I stepped outside, they might follow again. They might be waiting for it. When I finally worked up the nerve to go back outside, the SUV was gone. I drove home taking a completely different route, watching my mirrors the whole way. I didn't sleep that night. I barely slept the next. I never saw that SUV again, but now, every time I drive at night, I check. Every turn, every mirror, every time a car follows me too long, I wonder if it's him, just waiting, with the lights off, in the dark,